Hello, my name is Sharlene Nusser. Welcome to my first video for my author page. I am coming to you to introduce myself to you, to introduce you to my books, and to hopefully turn this into a maybe bi-weekly. We'll see how it goes. We'll test the waters, but update on my writing, discuss some other books besides my own, discuss some fellow author friends, and get my name out there a little bit more. So currently we do videos, we as in my daughter and I, for our crafts, which consists of mostly cross stitching and quilts, which this room used to be her bedroom. I guess it's still her bedroom. She's at college, but I've rearranged and moved my sewing area into here because I'm a very avid quilter, and the mess behind me here is fabric and books, and it's crafty stuff. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy what I present to you. I am very open to suggestions, constructive criticism. We don't grow as people, writers, or anything else without that. And I guess that being said, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Colorado, several miles to the west of Denver. I live here with my husband of, let me think, over 32 years. We were high school sweethearts, and we've been together for over 34. I also have, like I mentioned, our daughter. She is at college, and then our son is in his last year of high school. So for the time being, it's just the three of us because Morgan is away expending her cranium to carry on with her career. I have been writing pretty much my entire life. I grew up in a family of storytellers. My dad came from a large family and had amazing stories of his time growing up. He lived through the Depression. He lived through World War II. He saw a lot, and he lived a great life. And he instilled in me the power of storytelling. He was not a writer. He should have been, but he was not a writer. But he could spin a yarn like nobody I knew, and I always admired that quality in him. And like I said, from a young age, I was that little girl that you always saw with the notebook and the pencil or pen, and I was constantly writing notes and, taking stories down and remembering things, and it always stuck with me. And from as long as I can remember, from the time I started doing that, I remember telling my dad, I want to be a writer when I grow up. And into my 20s, getting married, having a career, I I used to joke that I had enough denials from, the big publishing companies that I could have wallpapered a room. Excuse me. And I never gave up. I persevered, and I found a publisher. Pardon me, tickle. And kind of a happy, sad story. So I had reached out to this publisher, and we had connected about the first book that I had published. And one thing led to another. Consequently, the process of our business together at that point in time did not come to fruition. And so fast forward, my dad took ill, and he ended up dying in 2011. He had a lot of health issues. He lived a great life. He was almost 91. And that night after he passed away, I got home and, of course, couldn't sleep. And I was going through my emails, and I had an email from said publisher that was time-stamped that day ironically, the timestamp was the time of death that the coroner pronounced my dad. And I just took that as a sign. And the next year was tough, and I didn't write because it didn't feel right. And exactly 1 year later, I get another email from her. And this woman did not know that my dad had passed away, but it was on the date that he had died. And I knew it was meant to be. And so I reached out to her. We, got the process started. And in July of 12, I published my first book. And over the course of that time, we did numerous book signings. We traveled to foreign countries. We promoted the heck out of the book. And over the course of the next few years, unfortunately, she and I had a falling out. She is no longer my publisher. But even though it did not end well, I learned a lot of really great things of what to do and what not to do. And in moving forward in publishing my own work, it proved to not only everyone who ever doubted me, but it proved to myself that it was doable. And I didn't need to be one of the big, be with one of the big 5 publishing companies. I didn't need to, have fancy connections and important people on my side, that I could do this. And so in 2016, I released the second novel. And that book is called Missing Innocence. And that book continued on with the characters and their lives, so to speak. And a lot of things transpired since 2016 to this year. My kids were both in high school. They were both very active in marching band and football. My husband and I were very active in both of those programs with them as coordinators and just helpers, and the list goes on. And so my writing really took a backseat. And I had started the third book not very long after the second one had been published, but I couldn't get back to that place that I needed to be to finish the third book. Won't go into great detail, just to say that a lot of things transpired this year, and whatever inspiration I needed, whatever motivation there was, I found it, and I finished the third one, and it is called Death by Postcard. All of these books are thrillers, mysteries, and as I tell people, if you have a queasy stomach, if you have a problem with blood and gore and violence, extreme violence, these are not the books for you. But if you like that, if you are entertained by that, I think you would enjoy these. I went to a retreat in 2014. I actually had a few book signings in New England during that fall. And we had a retreat, or went to a retreat, and one of the gentlemen that critiqued my work, that he wanted to submit me to a big publisher. And at that time I said no, because I hadn't published the second one yet. I was still in the process of it. And he actually compared my work to, his exact words, that I was Dean Koontz driving the Stephen King train, which was a huge compliment. And it's been my feather in my cap ever since. So, but this channel, this YouTube, however you want to, fancy terms you want to use, I guess, is to promote my work. It is to share with you some of my favorite authors. And like I said, I hope to do this at least 2 or 3 times a month to keep my readers enticed and Just get the word out there. You know, it's a tough world, it's a tough market, and one of the greatest things that I have learned is that we have to support one another, that competition makes us grow. And I can reiterate that I had a book signing in Washington State a few years ago. And actually, it's been quite a few years ago now, but it was just before I had released the second one. And there was a panel of 6 or 7 of us. I was the only thriller writer there. There were a couple children's books, there was a couple YAs, and I think there was a romance novelist. Like I said, I think there were 6 or 7 of us, but I was the only thriller writer there, so I was definitely the odd duck out. And I laugh because, you know, I was interested in the YA and the children's books for my kids, and all of those writers were interested in my book because I was the only thriller writer there. So we all made money off of each other by supporting what we love and what we do best. So it's one of those places where you find your happiest when you're with like-minded people. I love my author family. I love the support that we give each other. And, you know, like I said, it's a tough industry, but it's a great industry. And without books, where would we be as human beings? So that being said, I'm going to introduce you to my books. So my first one, and this is not the original cover. If you see a different cover on Amazon or on the secondary market, don't go, that's not it. It is it. But that was the cover that I had when I was with my first publisher. So this is my book now. The view that you see is of the La Salle Mountains, which are in southeast Utah, looking across the Colorado state line. I grew up like 33 miles from the Utah state line, on the western slope of Colorado. So, and those mountains were always very important to me. So again, this is the first one. And this starts out telling the story of, it introduces you to our 3 main characters and the challenges that they face and the mysteries that they solve and the unfortunate events that take place that bring it all to fruition. The second book, this one was the one that came out in 2016. This one is called Missing Innocence. Yes, that is a little girl with a Raggedy Ann doll. And it is traumatic for what this little girl goes through. And this one definitely came from the gut. I had a phenomenal cover designer, and all of that information, all of my places you can purchase and all that information will be down below. But the book circles around this little girl. Her name is Mariah, and our protagonists from the first book play a pivotal part in what happens to this little girl. So again, this one, the first one is dark. This one was very dark. And the third one, it might as well just be comparable to Midnight because they just gravitate, or maybe they go up, I don't know, but intensity wise. So this is the second one. And the third one that was published last month, it became official online right shortly after the first part of October. This one is called Death by Postcard. And again, the third and final, I've had some questions from my readers going, no, you can't do that, but we'll see. But I'm happy with where I ended with my characters, and I'm happy with the way things came to an end. So we'll leave it at that. This one, obviously, revolves around postcards and meat cleavers, and again, not for the light of heart. So all three of these are available on Amazon that you can purchase directly from them, or you can purchase them through Etsy, and those will be autographed copies. Or you can reach out to me personally if you don't want to go through either one of those sites, and we can make a transaction happen. So as far as other blips about me, I am a very avid reader. I have read forever. I tend to read more on the darker side. I am a Dean Koontz, Stephen King, James Patterson, Tammy Hogue. I like mystery and suspense and the dark side of writing. And I will tell you what I'm reading now. I read this book every October because it's just, I don't know, it just speaks to me. And as you can tell by the cover, it's been very loved and very worn. But I'm talking about Stephen King's From a Buick 8. And I picked this one up at a secondhand store several years ago. And like I said, I read it every October. I'm almost to the point where I could probably, recite it poetically. But it hits home, and I enjoy it. So I will bring you back a book report, if you will, when I come back to see you again on that one. And in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say about myself and about my work. Please check them out. And again, thank you for taking time to visit with me. And I look forward to visiting with you in a few weeks. Have a great day and happy reading. Bye.